And for that nodes.ini file, what you need to do is actually to include that OSGI HTTP dynamic bundles setting and to specify what NSF application will be providing those plugins to be dynamically loaded. So let's just double check if we have the same application name here and if I have the same application here as well. So it's update site open NTF NSF, yeah. So actually in this property, if you need, you could specify, for example, having the comma, you could write like update site db2.nsf if you want, if you need to. So that will resolve your issue if you don't want to preserve that specific db2 driver into the same NSF as the extension library. But as I've said, for the purpose of this webinar, we will have just all of them in one big NSF. So let me just save this. So we did all preparation on the server side, and now for that server to pick up our changes, we need to restart HTTP task. So this is done via the restart task HTTP. Okay, sorry. Let me just task HTTP. And what happens actually if everything was done correctly till this point? The server HTTP task should recognize our new settings inside nodes.ini file and pick up this new NSF application and load all plugins or features which are included in this NSF. So first of all, on that restart, you should notice one additional log visible on that console. So you could read here that NSF-based plugins have been installed in the OSGI runtime. And for more information, please consult the log. But I don't want to see now to go into any log. And what I've told you that for verification purposes, you could just issue one specific OSGI command. So let me just do that. I will issue first this one command. So I'm just copy and paste into this. And as you could see, after this issuing this command, if all my plugins were installed correctly, the OSGI runtime should resolve them and should present to you that they are all already on your server. The same is true now if I want to check if my DB2 related plugins are also installed. So let me just check that as well. So I am doing this command. And as you could see, the driver for DB2 is installed as well. So at this point, we did the verification that everything on the server side is installed correctly and resolved properly. So what we could do next? Actually, on this test server, I already have the demo database, which is called XPages gdbc.nsf. So what I would like to do is, well, if everything is running correctly right now on server, I just want to try to launch my browser. In this case, it's a Firefox browser, and to see if my demo application could be seen on that inside that browser. So we will see. Okay, this one is not. Now, what's the reason of that? The reason of that is because actually when I've put it the database on that server, so you also need to sign that database either with your server ID or with your user ID. So we will do that later. And if you have that signed all design with your server ID and with your active user ID, so you will be able to run it that database. But right now let me just jump to the installation step on the client and do the same steps to see how we install everything on the Domino Designer. So let me launch the Domino Designer. Okay, so we will have here the Domino Designer launch. And as I've told you that initially, okay, let me, where you have the file application menu, okay, I have it already enabled, but usually what you get is that these install and application management are not enabled, and to enable them you are going to Domino Designer and to enable Eclipse plugin install. So when you enable this enable Eclipse plugin install preference and click OK, the next step which you get the application installed and application management features available. So I'm just select now that install. Okay, and the next thing which I will be presented and will be the question: what kind of update site or what kind of installation artifacts I would like to select, and what I will need to do here. I will need to specify what is the location of those artifacts. So that step takes some time right now for me. So, but to remind you that for this step you will need now not to install here the update site which was used for the server side, but the one which was having the designer in its name. So that I will do right now. So I'm presented with that application location. So what I need to do, I just need to select my update site, and for that update site I need to select that one which is designer, and I'm selecting that, clicking OK, and then just as I've said before, I am just clicking finish. So here I'm presented with what is actually included in the extension library. So we saw the similar list of the features already when we did the import of the update site into the server side NSF application. Now I have the same on the client side. So what I do here, I'm just select everything and just click next. Here I just accept everything and also next. Here and just finish. So what happened next? And the question usually arises, why do we get those pop-up windows? So what happens here is, because we are having those plugins now, right now, taken from the OpenNTF website, as you may probably know or maybe not, those plugins are not signed. So, because we have the various security enforcements inside the node's infrastructure, so the infrastructure by itself actually tells us that those plugins are not signed, so it's the decision which should be taken by us or by your infrastructure administrator is if we trust them or not. So what I'm saying that I trust all those plugins and I just want to install them. So I need to click several times on that because we have several plugins. And after those plugins are installed on the client side, the client will require to be restarted, and that's because the Domino Designer by itself, as you may know, is based on the Eclipse framework, and that Eclipse framework is the notion of that framework that to pick up new plugins after installation it needs to be restarted. So you get that restart request here in your for your Domino Designer. So what I am doing here is just restarting. Yeah, and because I've had already the Nodes client started, because it's the restarts requires me to restart not just Domino Designer by the Nodes client by itself, because it also uses the same way of plugins initialization. Okay, so my client is right now restarts, and what we need to do after that. So after that, we already on the previous step we have installed extension library plugins. So the next step after that installation and after restart of our client would be the verification step, the similar one which we did for server, but for the client, that verification step involves a checking of if our plugins were installed correctly. So for that, okay. Let me just check if we. Yeah, let me just launch the Domino Designer by itself. And for that, you would usually go to the help about Domino Designer and to check if you have your plugins installed correctly. So we have here, as you could see, the plugins details button. So let me click on that, because you could have a lot of plugins installed. It could take some time for this window to appear. So now I'm just sorting those installed plugins by their plugin ID, and let's go to the specific to the extension library, and those one specific will have their plugin ID starting with the COM IBM XSP. So as you could see here, starting from this line, so all those plugins from extension library are now installed, and one plugin which is related to relational database support is installed as well. So that means that everything now is installed correctly on both server side and client side, and now you could actually, what you could do is try to open the demo NSF application provided inside your Domino Designer, and at this step it should be okay for that application to open without any errors and any compilation errors which you could usually get if you don't have required extension library plugins installed. So now I've presented at this point both installation steps on the server and on client side, and now let me go back to the presentation and let me continue what we have next. So what is the current stage of the relational support implementation for our extension library? So that support by itself, it uses the JDBC. So while we have that usage of JDBC, it means that all those JDBC drivers which are available on the market currently could be used by this solution. But the current limitation is that the connection to some external relational database could be defined just within your NSF application, and for that definition we currently using the special file design element with .gdbc extension, and that file design element should be located inside your Nodes application web content web info.